We are underway in Nashville. Amendola brings it 2 yards deep. Gets across the 20 and up to about the 24. And that's where we will get a look at the Rams' 6th round draft pick out of Division II West Texas A&M.
And this is a great opportunity for Keith Noll coming in here. The Rams were very secretive with us during pregame warmups. We were watching Kyle Bowler warm up. We saw that he was struggling with his leg injury. We noticed that Keith was getting a few more of the reps. We anticipated that this would happen, but now he has a great opportunity coming in here today at Tennessee.
We'll start off with Steven Jackson in the backfield. Gibson and Avery lined out to the left. And Noll with his first NFL pass is complete to Daniel Fells, the backup tight end. He gets across the 30 up to about the 32. And let's take a look at the Rams offense. Steven Jackson with 7 100-yard rushing games this season. Happy to have his blocking fullback back. Mike Carney, he missed 2 games with a neck injury. They're young on the outside with Avery and Amendola. And the number 2 overall pick, Jason Smith, misses his 3rd straight game with concussion-like symptoms. So they're going to be missing him. Adam Goldberg gets the start, but Jacob Bell back in his old town.
Jacob Bell returning to the team that he started with.
And this is Jackson off the left side. Gets close to the first down, a little bit shy. The Titans defense ranked 27th overall. Of course, no more Albert Hainsworth up front, but Tony Brown having an outstanding season. The linebackers are very, very good. Thornton Tulloch and Keith Bullock, the 10-year vet. And the secondary littered with Pro Bowlers.
And Cortland Finnegan has quickly become one of the best cover guys in the NFL.
3rd and 1. Double tight end set. That is Fells in motion. And it is Jackson again. Tries to pop outside, and he gets enough for the first down. Now Keith Noll, not only is he a rookie, he played at Division II West Texas A&M. What is going through his mind as he steps onto an NFL field for the first time in a regular season?
Well, I think the thing that has been beneficial for him is that he's had a couple of days of practice. The last couple of days of practice, he's split the reps 50-50. Jacob Bell told us when we talked to him the other night that he has a really good control, command of the huddle. He's very relaxed.
A 4-receiver set for the Rams. That's Amendola in motion. And a quick hitter to Amendola. Busts it outside, gains a few. Tackled by Chris Hope.
And I think this is great play calling on Pat Shurmur's part, the offensive coordinator for the Rams, giving him quick throws. You don't want Keith, you don't want a young quarterback first start, all of a sudden you find out an hour before kickoff that you're going to be the starter. Get the ball out of his hand with some quick throws.
You might have noticed his stats at West Texas A&M. 92 touchdowns in 26 career starts. He played out of that spread formation. This is a guy that really had never been under center. 2nd and 6, a 2 tight end formation. Another rookie, Brandon Gibson, in motion. It is Jackson off the left side and dragged down by Kyle Vanden Bosch. A 2-yard loss.
Not the guy that you want to leave unblocked. If you're going to block somebody, pick out Kyle Vanden Bosch. But he's able to work his way through the crease, get penetration. Like we mentioned in the opening, Steven Jackson dealing with a sore back. He's going to be more of a downhill, powered type of runner. For him to try and make an open field miss, that's going to be hard for him to do right now.
Vanden Bosch in his 9th year out of Nebraska and in the final year of his contract and with some menacing eyes. 3rd and 8. Noll operating out of the shotgun with Kenneth Darby in the backfield. Noll looking, and the ball is tipped, knocked away there by Vincent Fuller, intended for Amendola. So after 1 first down, the Rams will have to punt for the first time this afternoon.
And those are the situations they've had to deal with all year. They've been in a lot of 3rd and long situations. It's not a situation you want to have a young quarterback getting his first start. We mentioned getting rid of the ball quickly. That one was a long 3rd down.
Donnie Jones, an outstanding week last week in the loss to Chicago. 6 of his 7 punts inside the 20, 4 of them inside the 10. Alvin Pierman standing at his own 15. He will take it on the run at the 23. The Titans go to work for the first time today on offense. Vince Young making his 7th start of the season. He has been outstanding, replacing Kerry Collins this year.
And he mentioned to us how much he learned from Kerry last year, sitting back and watching Kerry, seeing how he handled the difficulties of playing the quarterback position.
Chris Johnson, the lone setback. Little play fake to him. Young looking downfield, has Kenny Britt for a big gain inside the Rams 40 and dragged down by James Butler.
Good job with the Titans. You come into the game talking about Chris Johnson in the run game. Start off with a play action fake, get the linebackers to bite up in coverage. Kenny Britt is able to get in that window between the linebackers and the safeties, and Vince Young puts it right on the money.
Gain of 31 for the first-round pick out of Rutgers. So just like that, the Titans in Rams territory at the 38. Johnson. And a nice play by the Rams, tackled by Craig Dahl. Let's take a look at this Titans offense, of course, led by Chris Johnson, who's looking for a franchise-best 8th straight 100-yard game. We've already heard from the rookie Kenny Britt, who's had 3 straight games with a touchdown catch. And then the offensive line, one of the best in the biz.
And Kevin Mawai, returning for his 16th season, is the anchor on that unit once again.
A 7-time Pro Bowler is Mawai. Johnson again. And he is dragged down by Darrell Scott, the rookie 4th-round pick out of Clemson. This is a defensive unit that ranks 25th in the NFL. That front 7 is going to get tested with a pair of rookies. Scott and also the middle linebacker James Laurinaitis out of Ohio State leads the squad in tackles. In the secondary, they are without their playmaker O.J. Atagwe, done for the year with a shoulder injury. Craig Dahl.
And getting his 5th start of the year, Craig Dahl. We've already seen him very active today. He tackled Chris Johnson on first down, been a part of special teams tackles. He's very active back there.
3 receivers set on 3rd and 10. The Rams showing blitz with James Butler up at the line, and here he comes. Young with plenty of time, looks downfield for Washington, who cannot make the one-handed grab. Covered closely by Ron Bartell.
And I think Vince will be a little frustrated on that one. He did have a blitz coming off of the left side. He had one-on-one coverage over there with Ron Bartell. Threw it a little bit high. If he had laid it out there a little bit shorter and given him a chance to catch the ball, that would have been a completion.
So the Titans, after gaining 31 on their first play of the game, don't pick up another yard after that. Brett Kern, the 3rd different Titans punter this year, on to boot it away to Amendola. And a nice high punt by Kern. Amendola is going to let it bounce, and the Titans are able to stop it. Jason McCourty got a paw on it. A great play by the rookie out of Rutgers, Jason McCourty, here on special teams.
And you can see Danny Amendola realizing that's where the play was going to be and trying getting a block on him.
And now Keith Null, the rookie, starting deep in his own end zone, but he hits Daniel Fells for another first down.
And how about the composer? You have the rookie getting his first start, it's only his 2nd series, and you're going to give him a play action fake from his own end zone. Does a good job maintaining his poise. His first read is covered. He gets back to his 2nd read and puts an accurate ball in there to Daniel Fells.
Now, you covered the Rams during the preseason, so you saw Keith Null play a little bit. What was your impression of him?
He's a big, strong-arm guy. We talked about his what he did in college, but he's a guy that has a very strong arm.
And very comfortable working out of the shotgun as he did in college. Jackson dragged down nicely after about a 2-yard gain by Tony Brown. Tony Brown probably a little lighter this week. He was fined $20,000 for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. He poked Kyle Devan of the Indianapolis Colts in the eye, or at least attempted to. It was his 4th unsportsmanlike conduct penalty this year, so they did more than just a slap on the wrist.
And that's going to be a matchup to watch. If we could get Richie Incognito and him matched up, there's a couple of volatile personalities there.
Null to throw again, and he has a connection to Donnie Avery. Short gain on that one as he was covered up by Nick Harper.
between the protections, keeping the throws really quick, a 3-step drop, throws it very accurately and throws it very hard. They're going to have to loosen up this defense at some point in time. They'll find out what kind of big arm Keith Noll has. They've showed a tendency to keep everything pretty short, and that's going to be something the defensive staff of Tennessee picks up, and Chuck Cecil will be dialing that up to take advantage of it.
Noll has connected on 4 of his 5 pass attempts. Here on 3rd and 4, he's throwing it again, and it's another connection, this time to Brandon Gibson, yet another rookie. So Noll and the Rams picking up their 3rd first down.
Brandon Gibson does a good job with his hands. The ball was low on that one. Keith got the ball out, but he threw it low. Brandon Gibson did a good job of coming back to the ball, getting his hands underneath it so it didn't hit the ground, and getting the first down.
Nice drive for the Rams. It started inside their own 5. They are almost to the 30. Midway through the first quarter, Noll hits Randy McMichael, the tight end, and he is stuck by Cortland Finnegan, the smallest guy on the field.
And we talked with Cortland Finnegan about him trying to send a message, the passion that he plays with. You can see coming off the fake, Cortland Finnegan's at the bottom of your screen. He feels that play coming. He lets the receiver go on the outside to come down to Randy McMichael. He's not afraid of hitting people.
We asked him what weight he's playing at. He said 178. He goes, no, round up to 180. Make
Keep it
me
up
seem
to
a little
180.
bigger.
Give you a little bit higher, right?
2nd and 6, and the Rams in a 3-receiver set. It's another handoff to Jackson, who has yet to bust loose this afternoon. Swallowed up by Keith Bullock and Chris Hope. And a late flag. Our referee, Jeff Triplett.
It'll be interesting to see who's involved in this. We just got through talking about Tony Brown and Richie Incognito. We'll see who was involved in this play.
After the play is over, personal foul, headbutt, number 68. 15-yard penalty. It's 3rd down.
Good call, Trent Green.
Amazingly, Richie Incognito seems to be at the center of all this. There he is right there, goes up, decides to headbutt him. I'm surprised they didn't call it. When a guy throws a punch, sometimes it's called both ways, but when Richie was caught making the headbutt, he'll probably get a fine for that as well. The league doesn't look highly on that.
Yeah, that was against Senderick Marks, the rookie out of Auburn. And Richie Incognito has now been pulled from the game, at least temporarily. Mark Setterstrom has come into the game. Now 3rd and 19, and they're going to run a little screen to Darby. And he is dragged down after a very short gain. David Thornton in on the tackle. So the 15-yard penalty by Incognito pushes the Rams way back. And now Donnie Jones on to punt for the 2nd time in as many possessions.
I thought the Rams did a good job. First of all, they had the ball inside their 5-yard line. They were able to get some first downs, get the ball out of the end zone, give Donnie Jones some room to punt the ball, give their defense a little bit of help. The personal foul on Richie Incognito didn't help any. Donnie Jones is at his best when he has an ability to just boom it.
This one he gets away nicely. Neerman from the 21 gets it up past the 30, and he is knocked cold there by the long snapper Ryan Neal.
That 5-yard penalty is added to the end of the run. 1st down.
Richie Incognito, a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for a headbutt, was pulled by Steve Spagnuolo from the game. Incognito recently voted by his peers as the dirtiest player in the game in a Sporting News article. Apparently well-deserved on that one. Vince Young dumps it off to Chris Johnson. Dragged down by Paris Lennon.
And that is where Vince Young told us he feels he has grown the most as a player. His time, initially when he was benched a year ago, he didn't think that was warranted, and he thought that he should be playing, and he was bitter about the thing. And after he realized he could learn a lot from Kerry Collins and learn from sitting back and watching and trying to progress, he said he spent the most time trying to learn the offense so he could get through his progressions more, and he feels a lot more comfortable this year that the game has slowed down for him.
3-receiver set as Justin Gage, who missed 4 games with a back injury, is in. Johnson, the lone setback on 2nd and 7. It is Johnson. And he spins forward and has enough for the first down. Chris Johnson, a guy that needs to average 150 yards per game in order to pass Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record. And this is a guy that he might go for 2, he might go for 4, and then boom, we'll see you.
That's right. He you know, the thing about him is you think 150 yards a game for the next 4 games, that's a lot of yards. But every time he touches the ball, he could have 2 60-yard touchdowns. It's just his ability to make big plays is incredible.
Young now on first down, hits Bo Scape, his tight end from college, and gets it inside the 40. Ron Bartell on the coverage along with James Laurinaitis.
Vince Young once again is able to, in the pocket, sees the linebackers wide, and he hits Bo Scape in the middle of the field. Good job by Bo getting vertical after the route, getting up and down the field, and not trying to dance too much. Just carry the pile and get the first down.
Young 3 of 4 so far for 50 yards after the 16-yard gain. Johnson trying to bounce it outside, has a crease, has an opening, cuts back, and Chris Johnson is into the end zone. A 39-yard touchdown for the NFL's leading rusher, Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson, when running the ball, we talked about his overall speed. What he does on this play is he shows great patience, reads his block. Right here, he's checking out the receiver, trying to buy some time and get up the end zone, and that's where that track speed comes in.
After being put in timeout, Richie Incognito is back in the Rams lineup. Earlier headbutt. He was pulled by Coach Spagnuolo. 2 tight end set for the Rams, who now trail 7-0. It is Jackson off the right side in a big hole. He has a first down, and he barrels up to the 40-yard line after a gain of 13.
The offensive line does a great job creating a hole for Steven Jackson. We talked about him being a downhill runner, especially today with his sore back. He gets in the open field, tries a little bit of a move, but his thing is going to be taking it downhill, taking it north and south, and using that power running.
But Jeff Fisher told us in our meetings, this is not the same Steven Jackson as he was a month ago prior to the back injury.
Well, it is. It's affected the way his style of running, his ability, the quick twitch to make moves. It's more of a downhill because of his back.
No, on the play fake, looking downfield, hits Amendola. Inside Titans territory and down to the 38-yard line before Michael Griffin wraps him up. And there is a flag, however, in the Rams' backfield.
Illegal use of hands in the face. Number 60 of the offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Hands to the face on the free agent center pickup, Jason Brown.
Please reset the game clock to 2:13. 2:13.
I know that the play gets called back because of a penalty, but I like the play call. The ability of Steven Jackson to run downhill, use the play action fake. We talked about Vince Young in that first series, finding a crease off the play action fake. Good job by Keith Noll getting the ball upfield.
And you saw the helmet fly off of a Titans defender, and that's where the infraction was. Speaking of hats flying off, Richie Incognito loses his on that carry by Steven Jackson. Well, these were the top 2 rushers in the NFL coming into today. In fact, Johnson averaged more than 6 yards per carry. Look at the rushes of more than 10 yards. They're ranked 1 and 2 in the league.
And that's the type of style of running they are. It'd be interesting to see Chris Johnson right there at 34 runs for over 10 yards. He's probably got about 20 of those that are even 30 yards or more.
2nd and 12. No. Looking deep downfield for Avery. And the ball is Incomplete. Cortland Finnegan with the coverage there. He couldn't keep his feet in bounds, but the Pro Bowler step for step with the Rams' top receiver.
Keith Noll right there is going to be kicking himself for not getting the ball out there further. Donnie Avery one-on-one, gets to the outside, looks like he's got a stride and got him beat. The ball underthrown a little bit and obviously a little bit too far outside as the ball drifts out of bounds. Keith Noll's going to realize you'd rather, with a fast guy like Donnie Avery, you want to put that ball in the field, make your track guys go get the ball. But I like them trying to stretch the field.
The Rams 2 for 4 on third down conversions this afternoon. A 3-receiver set on 3rd and 12. Noll looking downfield for Gibson. And there is a flag as Finnegan interfered. Now they might be calling it on Brandon Gibson.
There was a lot of contact going on in that play. Cortland Finnegan was trying to turn around to make a play on the ball.
Pass interference, offense, number 11. That penalty is declined, 4th down.
Cortland Finnegan once again sees the ball up in the air. He goes back for the ball. Brandon Gibson does a good job of grabbing his shoulder so that Cortland can't get the interception, but he's called with the offensive pass interference.
So 1 minute the Rams were celebrating. They thought they were going to be deep in Titans territory, and instead Donnie Jones is back on to punt for the 3rd time this afternoon. High snap. Fair catch made by Alvin Pearman at his own 16. Steve Spagnuolo, the first-year coach of the St. Louis Rams, his lone win coming back in November against the Detroit Lions on the road. 2 tight end formation with just over a minute to go in the first quarter. Young with a little play action. Looks for Nate Washington and has him for a 1st down.
Once again, Vince Young, good play call. You want him. We talked about in the opening with him using his legs and getting out in the open. Nate Washington one-on-one with Justin King. He gets Justin King vertical, does a good job coming back to the ball. Vince Young on the move is a very accurate thrower. He puts the ball to the outside away from the defender. Nate Washington brings it in.
Gain of 15 for Washington, who had a critical drop last week in the loss at Indy. Young, again on 1st down, chased by Chris Long, dumps it out to Chris Johnson. He's got some space, folks. Cuts back to the open field. Chris Johnson cuts back again. He's going to go all the way to the end zone for a touchdown. Vince Young with his longest pass of the season of 66 yards, but it's Chris Johnson doing most of the heavy lifting.
Great play call by the Titans. The Rams are coming with a secondary blitz, bringing extra guys. Chris Johnson's left out in the open field. Once you get him in the open field, he's got the ability, like we said, to take it to the house every time. That's a quarterback's dream when you dump the ball off for 5 yards and you got a guy take it to the house for 60.
Baronis adds the PAT. St. Louis Rams down 14 with a rookie quarterback at the helm, and they have no idea how to stop this guy.
His vision up the field, his patience in the field, his ability to see his blockers, that's where I think I've seen more out of him in these last 2 touchdown runs than I ever expected, because you talk about him being a home run player, whether as a receiver or as a running back. His speed is known. Everybody talks about his speed, but what I've been impressed with these 2 scores, his patience, letting the blockers set it up, uses his speed to separate, but he also has the patience to allow his blockers to help him out.
Is he a guy we should consider in the MVP discussion?
Well, you have to. You have to. When you look at the turnarounds of the Titans started out 0-6. They've turned things around. Yes, Vince Young took over at quarterback, but I think it's very clear the defense is playing better than they did at the beginning of the season. And when you have a weapon like Chris Johnson, his ability to take it to the end zone every single time he touches the ball has really improved the chances. And when you're talking about a guy ultimately having a chance to break the single-season rushing record, he has to be involved in that conversation.
Well, Chris Johnson all smiles, and he should be. He's got 2 touchdowns today, 1 on the ground, 1 through the air, 12 scores on the season. That's as many touchdowns as the whole Rams offense has through now 12-plus games. Amendola takes it on the run at the 5. Across the 20. Across the 30 and up to about the 33-yard line. Trent Green and Chris Rose back in Nashville. The Titans up on the Rams 14-0. A 39-yard touchdown run from Chris Johnson and a 66-yard touchdown pass from Vince Young to Johnson as well. Here's the rookie Keith Null, and he almost has it picked off by Vincent Fuller on first down.
Vincent Fuller reads this pass route and this pass throw beautifully. He does a good job of seeing the slot receiver going out to get the block. You can see him right here lined up. He feels the slot receiver Amendola going on the swing pass. He reads it, comes forward, almost gets a pick 6.
Well, Keith Null, the rookie 6th-round pick out of Division II West Texas A&M. Got the late start after Kyle Bollard could not get his leg loose in warm-ups. Now he swings it out to Jackson, who gets past Pete Bullock and tiptoes a little shy of the first down.
Adam Goldberg picking up his helmet. This is the 3rd time today we've seen either an offense or defensive lineman with their helmet come flying off. So maybe getting a little physical in the pits.
Let's check those chin straps. Maybe we need a little Lester Hayes stickum on those things. Now, your impressions of Null so far?
I think he's doing a good job of managing things, understanding what they're trying to do. He's getting the ball out of his hand quick. They have taken a couple shots up the field to try and stretch the defense. He does have a big arm. I think he's doing a good job right now. They just have to do a better job of not getting the penalties and long down and distances.
3rd and short. Null looking. Hits Gibson. He has the first down. Spins forward to the 46. Loses the ball, but it's picked up by Adam Goldberg, who gets it up close to midfield.
I think if they want to review this play, I don't think Jeff Fisher is going to waste a review on this play, but I think he was down on this. Good job by Keith Null in the pocket. You can see the pump fake. He buys some times, doesn't lose his patience. Gets the ball into Brandon Gibson, who's reaching the ball. Already had the first down, but was reaching for it. The ball came loose.
Let's give that Rams offensive line some credit. They've done a nice job giving Null plenty of time, and for a guy who had never taken an NFL snap before today, that's exactly what he needed. Oh, there's another flag.
You're going to get into some of that. That's going to be
False start. Number 70 of the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
When you're dealing with a new quarterback, a young quarterback, a guy that hasn't had a lot of reps with the starting offense, there's going to be some of that because everybody's cadence, everybody's use of the cadence and the tempo that they use it is going to cause little flinches like that. So that's to be expected.
You remember your first start? You were a little nervous. Was that voice cracking a bit?
It was cracking a little bit, you know, especially facing the 49ers on Monday Night Football as my first start.
They were no good back then. Jackson dragged down. Keith Bullock. Sinderic Marks there as well.
That's how you have to tackle Steven Jackson. You have to get him in the midsection. You try hitting his legs, he's going to run right through it.
And you talked about the biggest difference on this Titans team. Yeah, a lot of people want to point to Vince Young, but it is the improved play on the defensive side of the football. After that 59-0 shellacking up in New England, they made it a point that, guys, we got to make a stand.
And they said that. The coaching staff, the players, everybody said they had to change. It was right after their bye week things got turned around.
2nd and long for Null, quick hitter, and that's his worst pass of the afternoon, a one-hopper to Donnie Avery.
And that one they did bring a little pressure on. They brought 5 instead of 4, so that was a little bit different, but that's a pass that Keith Null's got to be able to complete.
As a young quarterback, what is the toughest thing when you're stepping up to the line and you haven't seen an NFL defense in the regular season?
Getting the game to slow down. That's the thing Vince Young talked to us about. For him, it took a couple of years. It took him getting benched to realize to get the game to slow down. The speed of the game, everybody is so fast, and then also trying to factor in your progressions, the game just needs to slow down.
Sam Congato and Kenneth Darby in the backfield on 3rd and long, and that ball's incomplete. Intended for Brandon Gibson, and the Rams will punt for the 4th time in as many possessions.
We talked early on with the first punt that Donnie Jones had that last week he was able to pin the Chicago Bears inside their 10-yard line quite a few times that day. So far today, the Rams haven't had enough field position, been able to move the ball enough to where Donnie can take advantage of that. He may have an opportunity here to get it down in there, but to drop it inside the 10 from this field position would be tough.
Alvin Pierman standing at his own 10. And he's going to let it go into the end zone. Back in Nashville, where the Titans lead the Rams 14-0. Tony Brown getting a little sleeve work done on the right leg. I think that's got to be an extra large sleeve.
You'd be amazed at how valuable those sleeves are, though. I tell you, they do a lot.
Chris Johnson, 2 touchdowns on the afternoon, 1 on the ground, 1 through the air. And he gets it going here. Trying to bounce it outside. James Laurinaitis on the tackle. There's another flag down.
Holding number 54 of the offense. 10-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
That's the left guard, Eugene Amano.
I think this has been a good start for Vince Young. I think the game plan has been very good as far as getting the play action passes, getting him moving outside of the pocket, getting him rolling on the run, hitting his checkdowns, hitting his tight end. He's not standing in the pocket for a long period of time. Obviously, they're doing a good job running the ball, taking some of that pressure off him. But I think he's just done a great job of managing the game, managing the clock, and moving the ball and using different receivers.
Well, now he's got a bunch of different receivers to choose from, 3 of them this set. Steady hands to Johnson on a delay. Bounces up the middle. Second and long, and pops it off to Johnson. Gets bottled up nicely. Laurinaitis and Quincy Butler converge on the stop. Well, this has been a one-sided affair thus far, and more like a one-player affair. As you can see, Chris Johnson, 120 total yards compared to the Rams. Their whole team, just 82.
That's been the big play capability of Chris Johnson. He's had the big touchdown run and the big touchdown reception. They've done a good job. I like what the Rams did there. That was 2nd and 15. They didn't put a lot of pressure. They dropped guys into coverage, and then they really rallied and didn't give Chris Johnson anywhere to go once he got the ball in his hands.
Vince Young, 6 of 7 on the afternoon. Faces a 3rd and long. Working out of the shotgun. Flushed out of the pocket, being chased. He throws it deep downfield, looking for Justin Gage. And the ball's knocked away by the back of Ron Bartel. James Butler in on the coverage as well. And a big stop for the Rams if they have any hopes of getting back into this one.
We talked about Vince Young earlier, his ability to get outside the pocket. He's not necessarily looking to run in this down and distance. It was 3rd and 15. Gets outside the pocket. Justin Gage working across the field. Vince wasn't able to get much on the throw because he was scrambling outside of the pocket. Good job by Ron Bartel coming back to break that up.
Nice pressure there by Leonard Little. 12th-year man out of Tennessee. Kern's punt, not a good one, a very short one, in fact. After a 26-yard punt by Brett Kern, the Rams start with the ball in Tennessee territory, but they're going backward already as William Hayes blows up the play along with Gerald McGrath. Jackson has had little room to run this afternoon.
Good job by the front 4 of the Tennessee Titans getting penetration. You see the linebackers react, fly up, and they're getting the backfield, and that's what you have to do at the back, like Steven Jackson, especially dealing with his back injury, not being able to bounce things the way he has in the past, getting that pressure and causing havoc in the backfield.
This was a problem for the Rams last week. More than half their plays were in Chicago territory, yet they only put 9 points on the scoreboard. Double tight end formation. Little end around to Amendola, and he gets dragged down again. It is William Hayes for the second straight play, who is not fooled.
Great discipline by Hayes. He's on the left side of the line. Instead of chasing down the line, he decides to get up the field and maintain that leverage. He sees the reverse coming. He goes in the backfield, gets Amendola wrapped up, doesn't let him bounce around it. You just touched on it. The Rams, when they get good field position, last week they had it. This week, now they get the best field position they've had of the day. They've had 2 plays in a row, both of them for losses.
Knoll now in a shotgun formation. Kenneth Darby lined up next to him. Here comes the pressure. He dumps it off to Darby. And it is Stephen Pullock who drags him down after a 2-yard gain. And a late flag comes in. And it looks like it might be unsportsmanlike conduct against Vincent Fuller of the Titans. Let's see what the call is.
I'm thinking on Kyle Vanden Bosch. He came in late and took a shot at Richie Incognito after Incognito had taken a shot at one of his players.
After the play is over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 68 in the offense. Headbutt, 15-yard penalty, 4th down.
Well, a lot of times the officials don't see the first hit. They see the second hit. But on this one, they say Richie Incognito. Richie's on the ground right there. He comes up, he gets a shot in. You can see Vanden Bosch comes over. I thought that was the flag going to be on Vanden Bosch, but the officials were able to see the first hit. And once again, Richie, that's 30 yards in penalties for him today.
So we were the ones that caught the late guys, not the early guys on that one. So we apologize to all the Titans on that play, who were well behaved, might we add. It's Richie Incognito with his second unsportsmanlike conduct penalty.
Are you saying that Richie flopped on that Vanden Bosch push?
It was very Vladdy-esque. Alvin Pierman gets it up to the 26-yard line.
Richie Incognito, number 68, comes out on the screen pass. You can see him go after Fuller, and he misses, so he comes back and gets him again, and that's when the personal foul comes in. The officials see that. They don't call it on Vanden Bosch, and here he is with Coach Spagnuolo. It's a little bit of a heated conversation. It'll be interesting to see if Richie goes back in the game after this conversation.
And it was his second 15-yard penalty today because of unsportsmanlike conduct. Vince Young, plenty of time, and he's flushed out of the pocket. And Vince is going to run. He's going to run for days. He is in Rams territory, and he's going to go out of bounds at the 30. And he's a little limpy. We told you about the troublesome left knee, but it looked like he was grabbing for his hamstring on that one.
Kerry Collins, get ready. We talked about the problems that Vince had with missing some time in practice. Great job by the offensive line of the Tennessee Titans, giving him protection, giving him time to look downfield. Vince takes off running. You can see he limps up. He feels it happening, grabs his right hamstring. Because he's so far off the field, the Titans are going to have to call a timeout if they want to get Kerry Collins warmed up at all.
Well, after a 44-yard gain, the longest of Vince Young's career, he is limping back to the locker room. Young bothered by an injured knee this week, but they were looking at his hamstring. So on comes the man that started the first 6 games when the Titans went 0-6 to begin the year, 15-year veteran Kerry Collins. And wasting no time, he fires it to Algie Crumpler, gets it inside the 20, down to the 10. And another first down for the Titans. Paris Lennon on the stop after a gain of 20.
I think it's a surprising call, especially to the Rams defense. Kerry Collins coming off the bench, throwing right away.
And that is Paris Lennon that is down after making the stop. So just like that, Kerry Collins comes off the bench, dusts off that right arm, which hasn't played in a few months, and already he is throwing. So on consecutive plays, we saw Titans quarterback Vince Young go off to the locker room. Now it's the Rams linebacker Paris Lennon gingerly moving toward the locker room. Kerry Collins, a guy that started the first 6 games of the year. As you could see, the offense was kind of sputtering its wheels until Vince Young took over.
The offense was sputtering their wheels, and you talk about the stats, and you look at the stats, but the players and coaches that we talked to did not want to shoulder the blame on Kerry Collins.
Collins hands off to Johnson, who bounces outside, tries to cut back, but James Butler does a great job. We are hearing a right hamstring injury for Vince Young. His replacement, Kerry Collins. That went a little too hot to handle for Ahmad Hall, the fullback.
We touched on Kerry Collins, what happened the first 6 games of the season, the turnovers, the points, the yardage that the team had, and how it really changed after the bye week when Vince Young came in. The players, the coaches, they had told us they felt that Kerry Collins played well, didn't play as good as he could have played, but that was really a problem for the whole team. The defense wasn't playing well, wasn't creating turnovers. Offensively, they weren't running the ball as well. They didn't shoulder it all on Kerry.
Well, this is a guy that led them to a 10-0 start last year, 13-3 record, top seed in the AFC before they bowed out in the second round of the playoffs. Now working out of the shotgun on 3rd and goal, throwing it out of the end zone and off the crossbar, intended for Bo Scaife. So the Titans will settle for a field goal try from Rob Baronis.
There's some frustration coming from the Titans fans, but this is a good decision. The Rams rushed 4 and dropped 7 into coverage. Kerry Collins doesn't have anybody open. Why force it in there? You're already in field goal range. Throw the ball away. Even though the crowd doesn't appreciate it, that was a smart play.
Baronis 19 of 23 this year on field goal tries. This one from 27 yards out. And it is 17-0 Titans. That's a good look. That's a good look. You're not going to frighten anybody when you walk in at home.
I'm just going to leave
that
one. I don't even know what to say to that one.
Hey, listen, those are the 2 suits we should wear Week 17 up in Detroit.
That would be good. That would be good.
As you can see, Titans scoring drive, but the big news on that one, after a 44-yard run, Vince Young left the game with tightness in his right hamstring, questionable return. So Kerry Collins taking over and helping lead the Titans to a 17-0 lead against Danny Amendola and the Rams. Amendola from the 8. Across the 30 and up to the 33-yard line. Quarterback issues for the St. Louis Rams as well. Their original starter, Mark Bulger, continues to sit on the sidelines with a broken bone in his shin. They're not certain if he will return to action at any point this year. His backup, Kyle Bowler, we expected him to start, but a deep thigh bruise, unable to get it loose. So that means the 6th-round pick, Keith Knoll out of Division II West Texas A&M, got the nod. Jackson gets bobbled up but breaks it back left, trying to get away from Cortland Finnegan, who drags him down after a 7-yard gain.
The Rams, after wasting the field position they had on the last possession, losing yardage on every down, 2 with negative plays in offense, and then the 3rd down getting the penalty, now have an opportunity. Put some positive things together. Get your rookie quarterback, your first-time starter. Let him get some positive things going. Try not to get those costly penalties that they've had to start this game off.
And 2 of those costly penalties courtesy of Richie Incognito, who has been replaced by that man, Mark Setterstrom, at right guard. Knoll hits Gibson. He has a first down up to the 48.
Good job by Gibson catching the ball with his hands and bringing it in. We talked at the beginning that one of the positive things about Keith Knoll's game is his strength of arm and his ability to throw the ball hard. On a short route like that, you better have strong hands to bring it in.
Gibson, a guy that came over in an October trade from the Philadelphia Eagles for linebacker Will Witherspoon, made quite a splash with 7 catches against the New Orleans Saints in a 28-23 loss. Knoll. And that ball is picked off by Keith Bullock. And Knoll wanted a pass interference as he was looking for Steven Jackson. Instead, Bullock with his second interception of the season and 18th of his career.
Keith Knoll is looking for Steven Jackson on the check down. Kyle Vanden Bosch, who's right over here, starts out rushing. He sees Steven Jackson come out. He comes over, peels off on Steven Jackson, and knocks him down. That's why Keith Knoll was so upset. He was trying to hit his check down to Steven Jackson, but as the ball's in the air, Kyle Vanden Bosch spins off and knocks down Steven Jackson before he even has a chance to react to the ball. So you can see that's why Keith Knoll was so upset.
First turnover of the game, and the Titans start with the ball at midfield. Johnson off the left side has some space, darts for 11 before he is upended. Kerry Collins, replacing the injured Vince Young, dumps it off to Algie Crumpler, upended by Craig Dahl.
It's amazing when owners suggest things, how those things happen. We talk about here in Tennessee with Bud Adams suggesting that Vince Young get an opportunity after the 0-6 start and the team heading to the bye week. Jerry Jones in Dallas decides, hey, he needs to get some carries. He gets the carries. They don't get it in the end zone, but he gets the carries.
Well, the Titans enjoying things up there this afternoon. Up 17-0. It is Johnson again, already with a pair of touchdowns, and here he has another first down. James Butler on the stop. Johnson up over 70 yards this afternoon. Once again, he has his eyes on the single-season rushing record, which was set back in 1984 by Eric Dickerson of 2,105 yards. Has to average 150 yards per game over the last 4 to break the record.
And the one thing you worry about on both sides of the ball, Steven Jackson and Chris Johnson, is how many carries they get, the pounding that they're going to take over the course of a season.
Johnson dropped by Clifton Ryan for no gain there. I love the goggles back in the day with Eric Dickerson and the hairdo. They'll stop for no gain, maybe even a loss of 1, as Lee-J Douzable is in to make the stop on that.
It's interesting with Kerry Collins in the game. We had talked with Steve Spagnuolo about if there was a different game plan with Vince Young and a different game plan with Kerry Collins. He said there was only going to be one coverage difference. That's easy to tell. That'll be a 2-man coverage where nobody's assigned to the quarterback. But then also they're going to run some different run blitzes because of Chris Johnson, get the penetration in the backfield, and give him the inability to make cutbacks.
We did see Kerry Collins run the option at practice on Friday. He wisely pitched it to Chris Johnson. Rams looked like they were offsides. Kerry Collins going deep, and the ball is incomplete, intended for Nate Washington. He was bottled up nicely by Ron Bartell and David Roach. But this one is going to go against the Rams.
Offside defense, number 72, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Chris Long, the second-year man out of Virginia, with the infraction.
A lot of times quarterbacks, if they anticipate that they've got a free play, they're going to take a shot to the end zone. It looked like he's thrown into double coverage, but if he knows he's already got someone off sides, why not take a shot to the end zone, try and get a big play?
3rd and 7 now for the Titans. Run a 3-receiver set. Collins looking down the middle, has his tight end Bo Scaife, who slides down at the 10. And that will take us to the 2-minute warning.
This telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
On the last pass protection, you'll see the offensive line gives Kerry Collins a good amount of time. He has 6 guys in the box right here, but only 5 of them rush. Craig Dahl drops into coverage. The offensive line does a great job in the pocket, giving him the ability to throw the ball upfield.
There were 7 numbers there. At Indiana, did they teach math differently?
It's the telestrator.
You're blaming your offensive line.
Oh, it's
it's
not the equipment, believe me. It's he's working the equipment.
First and goal. Johnson off the left side, gets it down close to the 5-yard line. David Vibora on the stop, along with Clifton Ryan. Titans up 17-zip. Under a minute and a half to go in the first half. Johnson bobbles the swing pass and then gets decked by Craig Dahl. That'll make it 3rd and goal. Well, the Titans' lone concern at a half has got to be the health of their quarterback, Vince Young, who limped off with an apparent right hamstring injury. His return is questionable. The good news is they have arguably the league's best backup quarterback.
And Chris Johnson in the backfield is closing in on the record. So you have some good weapons left on the field, but Vince Young and how well he was playing these last 6 games has got to be a scare for the Titans.
Empty backfield for Collins. Flushed out of the pocket, and he just gets it away. There is a flag down, however, as Chris Long applied the pressure. And now it looks like Jeff Triplett is going to say that Collins was indeed down, and that would give Long a sack. But we'll see exactly how this one unfolds.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Ineligible downfield. Number 68 of the offense. That penalty is declined. Intentional grounding. Number 5 did not get the ball back to the line of scrimmage, even though he's back to the pocket. He's out of the pocket. Loss of down. 4th down.
Good job by Jeff Triplett explaining that rule. The rule has been changed. It had been if the quarterback is outside the pocket, all they have to do is get the ball near or across the line of scrimmage. They've adjusted that rule this year. It has to make it back to the line of scrimmage. So even if that ball is in the vicinity, if it's a yard or 2 short, then that's going to be called intentional grounding.
So do not give Chris Long a sack on that play. Give Kerry Collins a penalty for intentional grounding. And now Rob Baronis, who earlier connected from 27, attempting from 34. And let's make it an even 20-0. At this rate, Rob Baronis is going to have to ice his leg. Kicking it off again. Amendola from the 5. He is decked at the 20-yard line. Craig Stevens on the stop. Keith Knoll making his first career start. Screen out to Jackson. Bobbing and weaving. Gains about 5. Well, this isn't exactly the way they drew it up. First 6 possessions as the Rams have just used a timeout. Punt, 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 pick.
Not exactly how you draw it up from an offensive game plan. It'll be interesting to see in this 2-minute drill, though. The Rams had 3 timeouts. They just took one there. They gained 6 yards on 1st down. But Keith Knoll, coming from West Texas A&M, ran the spread offense. He's comfortable in the shotgun. So let's see if this doesn't fit into what he likes to do. He feels more comfortable in the shotgun because that's what he knows. So in this situation where you're going to try and get points before the half, you have timeouts to work with. Let's see if they let him do that or if they're a little more conservative because it is his first start.
Well, this is nothing new for the St. Louis Rams. They have struggled all season long. They're on pace to score just 185 points. The last time this franchise was held under 200 in a season, they were back in Cleveland in 1944. Knoll pressured, tries to get it to his tight end Randy McMichael, but it was tipped away by Keith Bullock.
Nice play by Bullock. He has Randy McMichael there. A lot of times what will happen is you grab the receiver and knock it away. The key here is they put pressure on Keith Knoll. They don't let him sit in the pocket. He's got to throw while drifting backward. Like we mentioned with Vince Young, that's something that's a strength of his. Keith Knoll, that's not necessarily a strength. He wants to stand in the pocket and fire the ball.
That was Jacob Ford, the third-year man out of Central Arkansas, applying the pressure. And here on 3rd and 4, with flags down, Null connects, and Brandon Gibson gets lit up by Michael Griffin, the Pro Bowl safety. Apparently an offsides on the Titans.
Offside defense, number 95. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down.
Rams will not accept the penalty on William Hayes, who has been very, very solid. And this is a critical drive for the Rams. They still have 2 timeouts left. They got to get some points on the board if they have any hope of really staying in this game.
And their defense has done a good job of holding the Titans to field goals.
Well, that one is picked off by Cortland Finnegan.
Keith Noll can't run to the officials and complain about a pass interference on that one. He just got away with floating the ball. Wasn't very firm with the throw. It floated over the receiver's head. Now the Titans are going to have an opportunity to score before the half because 30 seconds are left.
Finnegan with his 4th kick of the season.
Keith Noll has time in the pocket. He does get some pressure. He sees a receiver. He double clutches. By double clutching towards Steven Jackson, that gets Cortland Finnegan to drive on the ball. And then when the ball floats high, Cortland goes up and gets the ball. We talked about Cortland Finnegan, and we met with him, and it's interesting, you know, his size, his stature, people don't think, but his feistiness. He was such a nice guy to talk with, but when he's on the field, it just clicks into another gear. He said he's a big admirer of Ray Lewis and his style of play, which surprised us because of his size.
Well, now with 30 seconds left, Kerry Collins has that ball flutter away from him as the pressure was applied by Justin King, a blitzing corner. The Titans do have 2 timeouts left. Probably another 10 yards would give Rob Baronis at least a decent shot at a field goal.
Baronis has a big leg, so maybe even 5 yards would give him a shot on the field goal. It's there's really no wind to be heard of out there today. It's but he's got a big enough leg. It'll be interesting to see the Titans' philosophy on this because they do have 2 timeouts left.
Baronis' season-long 53 yards at Houston, a career best of 60 yards. Collins flushed out of the pocket and just throws this one away. No grounding there, but he was pressured by Laurinaitis and Long in the backfield.
Good job by Kerry Collins, realizing to get out of the pocket, but like we talked with Vince Young and his ability to move around a little bit, I don't think Kerry's going to scare too many people that he's going to take off running on that one.
Not exactly similar styles.
No, different styles.
So 19 seconds left. 3rd and 10. Titans just 1 for 5 on 3rd down conversions this afternoon. Collins hits Nate Washington, and he will be dragged down shy of the 1st down, and that was an awkward landing for Washington, who is grabbing his right leg. He now hops up, but that was a rough one.
Nate Washington does a good job of coming back to the ball. He doesn't wait on it. He attacks it so that Justin King can't come up and make the play, but he gets his leg pinned underneath him. And you could hear the crowd. Everyone in the crowd saw it, and you could hear the reaction. It didn't look pretty, but I think the fact that Nate Washington was able to hop up quickly and jog off the field is a good sign for everybody.
Well, that's good news, and here is an interesting move by Jeff Fisher and the Titans. On 4th down, they are going to go for it instead of trying what would be about a 53-yard field goal.
Well, so much for if you get 5 yards, they got 6 yards and they're going for it. So they want to get a little bit closer, and they do have the 1 timeout left.
That's Kenny Britt in motion. A quick pitch to Johnson. Does a spin move. He's got some room to cut back. Johnson gets inside the 20 and out of bounds with 3 seconds to go.
Incredible vision, balance, and speed on this run play. The thing you get worried when he's running around and making all these cuts is the clock was potentially going to run out. I know they had a timeout left.
And look at the excitement on the face of Jeff Fisher. That one could have been disastrous and taken them further back. And it would have given the Rams the ball. Instead, now Baronis from 36 yards out. And make it 3 for 3 on the afternoon for Rob Baronis. Josh Brown gets a workout for the first time today. Boots it away to the rookie Kenny Britt. Coming out of the end zone 5 yards deep. And probably not the best idea as he gets spun down deep in his own territory. Jordan Kent, the first man down there. Chris Johnson with 87 yards in that first half on the ground and looking for more. Tries to cut back, but Darrell Scott, the rookie 4th-round pick out of Clemson, is there to bring him down. We saw that in the early going. Johnson, a couple of no gainers, a short one, and then bang, 39 yards. In fact, a huge first half with 156 total yards from scrimmage.
And he's chasing not only the single-season rushing record of Eric Dickerson's, but also the total yards from scrimmage that Marshall Faulk, formerly of the Rams, has the record at.
Well, as you can see, already has the franchise record set by Earl Campbell back in 1980. Johnson says, you know what, the record is important to him. He's made no bones about it. He wants that record. Wants to become the 6th player to rush for at least 2,000 yards in a single season. Last year when he went to the Pro Bowl, he bought them all 50-inch flat screens. So what's on the agenda if he gets 2,000? Well, he gets none. James Hall drags him down, so a quick series. 3 and out for the Titans.
And before we bury the Rams, they come out and they stop the Titans 3 and out. They keep them down inside the 5-yard line. They're going to have great field position to start the second half. They need to drive down and get a touchdown here, get this back into the game. So let's not bury the Rams too quick.
Well, especially if the Rams can get any sort of return from Amendola. Brett Kern punting out of the back of his own end zone. Gets away, a decent punt. Amendola trying to bust it outside. Brought down at about the 46-yard line. Plenty to cheer about for the Tennessee Titans, their cheerleaders and their fans, up 23-0 in the early going of the second half. If you're just joining us, Keith Null, the 6th-round pick out of Division II, West Texas A&M, making his first NFL start after Kyle Bowler could not get loose during warm-ups, had an injured thigh. And it is Steven Jackson, gets into Tennessee territory and bowls over a few would-be tacklers down to the 45. Gain of 8.
Don't try arm tackling that guy.
So what have you seen from Keith Null so far?
Keith had done a good job managing the 2 interceptions. One was a questionable pass interference where Kyle Vanden Bosch ran into Steven Jackson and the ball floated. The second one, he was getting pressure and he tried flipping it out there. He wasn't able to get a firm throw in there. But for the most part, he's managed the game well.
Well, for the first time today, he is sacked. Tony Brown drops him.
We talked about the Tennessee Titans only rushing 4 guys. They don't like to bring a lot of pressure from secondary or linebacker. They trust those 4 guys to put pressure. That play right there, all 4 of them smother Keith Null.
So now another 3rd and long for the rookie quarterback. Kenneth Darby in the backfield. 4 receivers set for the Rams. Null hits Amendola, who immediately gets dropped by Stephen Tulloch. Tulloch, a 4th-year man out of NC State. And the Rams are going to punt.
Good job by Keith Null. Realizing the pressure is coming upfield, he slides up in the pocket. He maybe stares down Amendola a little bit, and that's what drives the defender on him instead of giving some separation. But good accurate throw and good job in the pocket sliding up in there.
The most active Ram, Donnie Jones, on the punt for the 6th time. Not his best effort. Not the place you want to see Vince Young if you are Titan fans. If you're just joining us, Vince was injured in the middle of the second quarter. Apparently a strained right hamstring. His return is questionable, but with a 3-0 lead, my guess is that's exactly where he'll stay. Kenny Britt catches it, spins out of trouble, and gets going into Rams territory down inside the 40-yard line.
This is just your run-of-the-mill hook route, 12-yard comeback. Kenny Britt does a good job of setting up Ronnie Bartel coming to the ball. He realizes Laurinaitis is going to put a stick on him and moves to the outside, is able to break down the line and get up the field. Those are the types of things as a quarterback you start trusting your young receivers. When they come back to the ball like that, that builds the trust you get with those receivers.
Only the second catch for Britt, but he has made the Rams pay with those 75 yards through the air. Collins hits Algie Crumpler, who is wide open, and gives the Titans another first down before he is knocked out of bounds by David Vivora. Gain of 19 on that one.
First down.
So the Titans just moving at will. They had 310 total yards in the first half. You're looking at a 500-yard afternoon, perhaps, for the Tennessee Titans.
Well, it could be. You look at their first series, they were down inside the 5. The Rams did a good job of holding the -2 yards that first series, but this second series, they've come out with a much different attack. They've thrown the ball both times, trying to loosen up that Rams defense.
Number 83 of the offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Johnson bottled up and dropped by Lee-J. Douzable, who's getting significant playing time this afternoon. Well, the Titans said if they can run the table, they feel like at 9-7 they're going to be in the playoff discussion. After today, they would improve presumably to 6-7, and then 2 more home games with Miami, a winner today up in Jacksonville, San Diego on Christmas Day, and then finish the season at Seattle, which got punched in the gut today down in Houston. So it is very possible they could win 4 straight to close the season.
And that Miami game becomes very big next week because they get that win. You have 2 teams stand at 7-7, and you have the head-to-head tiebreaker.
That one just off the mitts of a diving Lavelle Hawkins, second-year man out of Cal. Well, you do start wondering a little bit about Vince Young and that injury. And, you know, Jeff Fisher told us when we met with him on Friday, if Vince Young's legs are not right, he's not going to put him out there because it takes away a dimension that defenses have to deal with. So it is possible that if he is not 100%, you might see Kerry Collins.
Kerry Collins may be the guy for the next couple of weeks, depending on how severe of injury it is. With the lead they have today, don't expect to see Vince back in today, but you're talking about a couple weeks down the road, how that'll affect his play.
Collins on 3rd and 18, incomplete. Once again trying for Hawkins, but no good on that one. So that'll bring on Rob Baronis, who will be attempting his 4th field goal of the afternoon. As you can see, both Titan quarterbacks have completed 6 passes this afternoon. Young was off to a great start. He had that 66-yard touchdown pass to Chris Johnson for the 2nd score of the game. Now Rob Baronis, a 50-yard field goal attempt. And he nails it. Fourth field goal of the afternoon by Rob Baronis. And now the Titans and Kerry Collins at the helm for the injured Vince Young, leading the St. Louis Rams 26-0. Another long day for that Rams offense, Trent Green.
It has been, and we talked with Coach Spagnuolo about his attack and what they wanted to do with the offense. They didn't know coming into this game that they weren't going to have Kyle Boller. They anticipated Kyle Boller playing. He was splitting reps with Keith Null. It seems like they're attacking a little bit more. They're trying to push the ball upfield. It just hasn't worked out for them.
Amendola doesn't even make it back to the 20-yard line. Well, the Titans have been going since the first quarter. Up 26-0 is Keith Null, the 6th-round pick out of Division II West Texas A&M. Back under center. Jackson loses a yard. Keith Bullock who's a free agent at season's end, just like Kyle Vanden Bosch on the defensive side of the ball. In fact, Bullock's agent came out this week and said he has heard nothing from the Titans.
Well, you're talking about two veteran players that have been leaders on this defense for a long time, and those are tough decisions that organizations have to make. Do you commit the money, worried about the long-term cap ramifications, or do you try and move on with younger players?
No, pressured, high throw, but it is snagged as Brandon Gibson comes down with the catch. Well, you look big picture with the St. Louis Rams. They are the lowest scoring team in the league. Only 12 offensive touchdowns through now 12 and a half games. I think the first thing I got to settle on is who is their quarterback going into 2010.
Well, you talk about Mark Bulger being hurt. It's the second time this year he's hurt. They're going to have to make some decisions because of his cap figure next year. Kyle Bowler only signed a one-year contract. Keith Noll's going to have an opportunity to play, maybe not only this week, but maybe down the road as well.
And Jackson looks like he just gets enough for the first down.
That's going to be a pressing decision for the Rams to make, is what direction do you go with the quarterback? But there's a number of other areas that need to be addressed. We talked about Richie Incognito being in a contract year as well. He didn't make matters any better for himself today. All the injuries they've had at the wide receiver position. Donnie Avery is the only receiver on the roster right now that started out training camp with them. They've had so many injuries. Laron Robinson, Keenan Burton. They've lost some players because of injuries.
That is Avery in motion. He has been silent this afternoon. Noll looking downfield. That ball is picked off again by Keith Bullock for the second time this afternoon. He's getting up and running. And he cannot stay in bounds, and he couldn't even stick the landing. But he does fire the ball about 18 rows up.
It's a rookie mistake, comes back. Keith Noll has the play action fake, does a good job. There is good pocket. He has time. He stares down. You can see 4 defenders and only 1 receiver in that area. As he comes off the fake, he stares directly where he's going with the ball. There's no play flake. There's no look off, as far as where he's going. Those guys hover right to the ball. Keith Bullock with a great interception. That's tough for a linebacker that's backpedaling to be able to reach up going backwards and get that interception.
Second interception of the day for Keith Bullock, and the 19th of his career. Chris Johnson gains maybe a couple. David Vobora over there to drag him down.
That's the one thing you can say about the Rams defense. They have given up. Yes, they're down 26-0, but they've held them to 4 field goals. The 2 touchdowns that the Titans have had on the long touchdown run and the short pass that Chris Johnson took for a long gain and ultimately a touchdown. So for the most part, especially the second half, they've kept Chris Johnson in check.
In fact, his yardage is going backward this half. He has lost 5 yards in the second half. Looking for his 8th straight 100-yard game, which would set a franchise record. Collins hits Bo Scaife. Dragged down by Chris Chamberlain, who replaced the injured Paris Lennon. Lennon dinged up in the second quarter with an apparent knee injury. His return is questionable. Well, the Titans, they got some good news earlier today when the Miami Dolphins beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Jaguars currently in that 6th seed in playoff positioning in the AFC. They're at 7-6, along with the Dolphins and the Jets, who are winners today down in Tampa. Johnson spins forward for 1, maybe 2. James Laurinaitis in on the stop. Well, next week, the Dolphins will come here to Nashville. The middle game of a 3-game homestand for these Titans, who are feeling pretty good.
They are feeling pretty good, and it's interesting, this decision. You can hear the crowd react. Jeff Fisher has decided on this 4th down. He's frustrated just like everybody in the stadium with their production and having to settle for field goals. So he's putting it on the shoulders of the offense right here to make something happen and get a first down.
Collins has a first down to Bo Scaife.
Depending on the health of Vince Young, how he moves forward this week and into next week, there'll be a big decision to make heading into that Dolphins game. On 4th and 4, Kerry Collins does a good job. Just the stick route by the tight end. He goes up 5 yards. Turns out you have leverage behind 37 Butler, the safety, and Laurinaitis playing from the inside. Nice job to find that hole, and Kerry Collins putting an accurate throw in there to get the first down.
Jeff Fisher, sick of seeing Rob Baronis on the field. He wants touchdowns, not field goals. Johnson lost in a sea of white as Chris Chamberlain and Chris Long converge on the stop. Once again, if you're just joining us, Chris Johnson needs to average 150 yards per game the rest of the season to break Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record. He has had 86 for this afternoon. And you got to wonder how much more we are going to see him in the fourth quarter if the Titans hold this big a lead. Collins on the rollout. Hits Ahmad Hall, his fullback, who gets it down to the 3. Hall, one of those unsung heroes.
Anytime you have a back that's challenging for 2,000 yards in a season, a lot of that credit goes to the fullback. We've talked all day about the offensive line of the Titans, how well they've played, the holes they've created for Chris Johnson, but the fullback always seems to get lost in that mix, and it's a very valuable part of the running attack.
Hall, one of 3 Titans offensive starters that played at the University of Texas on the national championship winning team. Bo Scaife, and of course the quarterback Vince Young. Johnson darting outside, then back inside. He stretches across for his 3rd touchdown of the afternoon.
We talk about his speed, but several times today, he's also showed great vision and patience to read his blocks, make his cut, and take it up, and then he reaches out across the goal line to get in the end. It'll be interesting to see how much more we see of Chris Johnson today. Bo Scaife could have got called with a holding penalty there on the outside. Chris Johnson cuts inside to get in the end zone.
Chris Johnson with his 3rd touchdown of the game. 2nd time he has scored that many in a single game in his career. 33-zip as the Titans lead the Rams. How much more are we going to see him this afternoon, Trent?
Well, we talked to Jeff Fisher about not worried about the records. He wants to win games and get a position to make the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see if they keep him in. He's only 11 yards short of getting 100 yards, which would continue that streak of 100-yard games for him.
Rob Baronis to boot it away. Amendola from the 2. Gets across the 30 up to the 32-yard line. Eric Bakhtiari just activated from the practice squad, a little dinged up on kickoff coverage. Well, ho, ho, ho. You got to wonder what's going to be under the tree for the St. Louis Rams this year. Or even better yet, the Tennessee Titans. Maybe a playoff berth. This is a team that could do some damage in the playoffs. If they're that 6th seed, I don't know who's going to be that 3 seed, whether it's a Cincinnati, a New England, somebody else.
They're going to scare a lot of people if they start off 0-6 and get hot enough to make it into the playoffs. Nobody's going to want to face it.
Steven Jackson, the lone setback. That's Ravel Martin in motion, and Jackson nowhere to go. Dragged down by Nick Harper. 2nd and 14, and another flag. Motion penalty on the Rams.
False start. Number 66 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Mark Setterstrom, who is in replacing Richie Incognito. We haven't seen Incognito in the 2nd half. 2 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalties on Incognito in that first half, and so he's been spending time on the sideline.
And not only the 2 15-yard penalties, after the second one, he got into a confrontation with head coach Steve Spagnuolo and had a pretty heated discussion as to what was going on and what was expected of him. He hasn't seen the field since.
2nd and 19 for Null. Goes through the midst of Billy Badgema, the 3rd tight end.
And you can tell with the offense on the field, normally the players are up watching, but he's over on the bench and is still heated.
Well, when you've got the bullpen jacket on, that's not a good sign. Null on 3rd and long. Hits Sam Congato out of the backfield. He gets it up to the 35. Dropped by Michael Griffin and Cortland Finnegan as well. And this is another, if you're looking for areas of improvement for the St. Louis Rams, backup running back to Steven Jackson is one desperate area.
You know, you start looking at Sam Congato and Kenneth Darby. They're two guys that do very well on special teams. They utilize them in that regard, but Steven Jackson is the workhorse. Just like on the other side, the Titans have Lindale White, but he doesn't get the carries. It's about Chris Johnson for the Titans and Steven Jackson for the Rams.
And it is a fake. Here comes Kenneth Darby. He's got a big hole. Darby inside the 30, inside the 20, and down to the 13-yard line. So a little trickeration at the end of the 3rd quarter. Well, it's been all Chris Johnson and Rob Barones in terms of scoring for the Titans, up 33-0 on Steve Spagnuolo's Rams. But there was a little life on the last play of the 3rd quarter, a 51-yard fake punt by Kenneth Darby, and now the Rams are in the red zone. Keith Null drops the snap, swings it out to Jackson, who falls for no gain.
On the fake punt, you'll see the Rams snap it to the up back. They're going to hand it to Kenneth Darby coming down through the hole. It catches the Tennessee Titans off guard in a 4th and 5, 4th and 6 situation. He gets in the open field. Darby reads his block, makes it up. If you think the Rams are going to give up, that is not in Steve Spagnuolo's personality. He said this team is about building, believing in each other, and you're ultimately going to try and do your best all the time. It doesn't matter what the score is. He's going to try and win this game.
Well, you can see their red zone numbers are atrocious. Steven Jackson drags it down to the 7. Javon Hay on the stop. Well, at what point do you get Steven Jackson out of there? This is a guy that has not practiced in the last 3 weeks because of an injured back. He's a proud guy. He's right up there among the rushing leaders in the NFL, but at the same time, you're talking about this guy has only so many hits in it.
Right. Well, I think with Steven Jackson, he's going to be someone that wants to play the whole game. Just knowing him, knowing his personality, he's going to want to ride this thing out.
Not if they don't block people. Michael Griffin on the safety blitz converges with Tony Brown for the stop. And now that'll bring up 4th down.
Talking with Jacob Bell before this game, he was saying how much the offensive line, how much the other offensive players have respected what Steven Jackson has done. They realize how much pain he's in. They realize he hasn't practiced for 3 weeks. They think it's a huge attribute to Steven and his personality and his fight that he keeps battling even though he is dealing with a bad back.
Just 46 yards this afternoon on 17 carries for the Pro Bowler. And now on 4th down, Null hits McMichael, who gets into the end zone for the first touchdown for the Rams and the first touchdown for the rookie. And he will gladly take that back home.
Keith Null's going to have Randy McMichael. He's just coming up and doing an out route right on the goal line. Good job by Null, putting it in a position. He throws it behind. The linebacker is going to knock it away. You lead him too much, the corner is going to come up and make the play. Nice job by Keith Null and his placement with the football.
Keith Null, his first career touchdown toss, that to Randy McMichael. Gets the Rams on the board. Do you remember your first touchdown pass?
I do. It was in a losing effort also.
They haven't lost yet.
Not that this game's over with, but they've got a long way to go.
Who was it to?
You know what I really Larry Bowie. It was a fullback hitting him in the flat down on the goal line. But what I liked out of Keith Null on that one is, even though it was his first NFL touchdown, he didn't overreact. He understands the game and the situation, and there wasn't a lot of celebrating. He was just excited about it. David Vobora is who is down with the knee injury. You see him right here. His own player, Sam Congato, is going to come from off the screen trying to make a tackle, and David is engaged with the defender and has Sam Con fall into his knee. You never like to see that as a player, as a fan, as a family member, when you see a guy engaged and another person come flying into his leg.
So now that means the Rams are without their 2 starting outside linebackers. Vobora has been replaced by Larry Grant. Earlier, Paris Lennon replaced by Chris Chamberlain. Chris Johnson still in the game as they're trying to get him over the century mark. This will help him, an 8-yard scamper. James Laurinaitis on the stop. Chris Johnson looking for a franchise best 8th straight 100-yard game. He is at 97 right now. The Titans will improve to 6-7 and be just a game back of that 6th seed in the AFC playoff race. You've got the Jags, the Dolphins, who will be here next week, the Jets and the Ravens all at 7-6. Johnson off the right side. Clifton Ryan. He's had a solid afternoon, drags him down.
He's made several plays in the backfield. He's getting good penetration through the offensive line. We talked about getting back. Chris Johnson has been held in check for the most part in the second half. Cliff Ryan does a good job of getting off his block, shedding the blocker, getting up and making the play in the backfield. That's several times so far in the second half where Chris has had negative yardage on run plays.
Well, there's a lot of Rams fans that are drooling over the prospects of Jonathan Suh coming to town.
I like the practice on the first name already. That's good.
Johnson, quick pitch, bounces outside, and he is inside Rams territory and over 100 on the day as James Butler pushes him out of bounds. And this day, that is now 8 straight 100-yard games, a franchise record, breaking a tie he had with Earl Campbell. They're still continuing to pound the rock, another 7 on that one. As Larry Grant makes the stop. You agree with keeping him in here?
Well, it's interesting. I have my eye on Lindell White down on the sideline there, trying to figure out at what point in time they're going to run him in the game. Coach Fisher talked to us about not worrying about rushing records, but I thought once he got over the century mark that they would make that flip, and Lindell is sitting back there on the sideline just waiting for the nod.
White, a guy that had an 1,100-yard season a couple years ago. 15 TDs a year ago. Johnson pushed out of bounds hard by Clifton Ryan, and here comes the flag. And a little skirmish on the sidelines as well, as Stephen Tulloch didn't like it, stood up for his Pro Bowl running back.
The Rams are going to argue that he tripped over the yard marker, the chain for the yard marker. You can see Cliff Ryan gives him a little bit of shove there, whether or not he catches his feet or not. You like the Titans players coming to his defense, but I learned a long time ago if you're going to get into a skirmish on it, you better have your helmet on. Those guys rolling up there without their helmet on, that's not a good choice.
Well, you heard our guys on the pregame show talking a little bit about that as well.
There is no foul on the play as the player fell down on his own out of bounds.
So the Rams win the argument.
I think Jeff Triplett just called him for a flop. I think he just said the player fell down on his own. I think he caught the flop trying to get the penalty.
That is the second flop this afternoon. If we were in the NBA, you could get fined for that these days. Well, Jeff Fisher, a guy that's on the competition committee, didn't like the reversal of that call, and now he wants a timeout. Collins now on 3rd down, looking deep downfield for Washington. He makes a diving catch inside the 10. Yes, you did. And now the Titans racing up to the line of scrimmage so that the Rams don't have time to review this.
If there's any doubt in the Titans' mind, this is the play to do. You want a quick snap, that was told to Kerry Collins through his headset was to get a quick snap.
Well, it wasn't quick enough because Steve Spagnuolo has thrown the red challenge flag.
St. Louis is challenging the ruling on the field of the completion.
This could be a momentum changer. We will go down to Jeff Triplett, who's apparently looked at this catch or not by Nate Washington.
Nate Washington does a great job of getting his hands underneath the ball, and as he begins to roll, it appears that the ball is on his forearm. You can argue that the ball hit the ground after it was on his forearm, but then you fall back. The Rams were very involved with the Bert Emanuel rule back in the '99 NFC Championship game. If you have control of the ball and it hits the ground, it's still a catch.
Now, this has been called on the field a catch, so there has to be enough evidence to overturn it. So let's send it down to Jeff Triplett and see what he has to say.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. St. Louis is charged for timeout and their first challenge.
Good throw by Kerry Collins. Actually, nice coverage by Justin King. Just an accurate throw and a great catch by Nate Washington, getting his hands underneath it and then rolling to protect the ball.
So Steve Spagnuolo loses a timeout and yet another challenge. Another statistic that has gone against the Rams this year. He is 0 for 4 in challenges.
And you immediately see him going back into competitive mode, coaching mode.
Chris Johnson looking for that fourth touchdown of the game. It's dragged down by James Butler. Darrell Scott there as well.
That's a great thing that talking with Coach Steve Spagnuolo, talking with the players, he has kept that same attitude and that same approach, whether it's a win, whether it's a loss, whether it's a challenge that doesn't go their way. He moves on to the next play, moves on to the next game. Yeah, you feel bad about it. You have things you want to do, but make sure you're focusing on what's coming up next.
This is a guy that was a college coach for 16 years, so he understands development, teaching, and learning. Johnson pushed back by Clifton Ryan and Larry Grant. The Rams do not want him to get that fourth score.
They are swarming to the ball and that's exactly what you want to do with Chris Johnson. You don't want to give him the ability to make some cuts in the backfield and find that crease and dart into the end zone. They've done a good job bottling him up. He does have his 100 yards. He has had some big plays, but he's had a lot of negative plays as well.
This time they pitch it to Johnson. The Rams string it out and they keep him shy of the goal line as Larry Grant's out there along with James Laurinaitis.
And there was no hesitation at all on the sideline or the thought process of Jeff Fisher. They're going for this one.
Now what do you think of this call?
Well, I can understand the argument of Jeff Fisher. Think about it, what's going on here in the second half. The offense of the Titans hasn't moved the ball very well. When they got their touchdown, it was after an interception, and the other times they haven't been real productive moving the ball.
So here you go, 4th and goal. Collins looking, throws it up into the end zone. It is caught by Algie Crumpler. There is a flag in the end zone, but it looks like it might be defensive holding.
Prior to the pass, holding number 37 in the defense. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
Well, at this rate, if they keep scoring like this, every kid's going to walk away with a football in time for the holidays.
And then when I was arguing Jeff Fisher going for the ball, I think it's more him trying to send a message to his team. Yes, we're winning the game. We have a lopsided score here, but I'm not happy with the way you've played. They had the 2 touchdowns in the first half that were big plays, and I just think he was trying to send a message to his guys that they need to punch that in if they're going to be in the playoff run.
Baronis again. Now it is 40-7 with 7:31 to go in the game. For Crumpler, his first touchdown of the year, the 37th of his career.
Good job by Kerry Collins buying some time, drifting back in the pocket to buy more time. Algie Kremper comes back, makes a catch. I can understand why the coaching staff would be fired up for the Rams because that ball floated up there. They expect them to come back and attack that ball.
Well, that looks like that was directed at the Titans sideline.
That's directly at the sideline, and you can read his lips. He was saying, "Are you kidding me?" And he looks over at the sideline. So you know where Steve Spagnuolo's thought process is it was a 33-7 game. Why are they going for the touchdown? And from a defense standpoint of Jeff Fisher, he's trying to get his team ready for a playoff push, and he wasn't happy with the production of what's been going on here the second half.
And let's remember earlier this year, the Titans were on the wrong end of that 59-0 demolition up in New England. And Jeff Fisher, he just kind of walked it off and said, hey, you know what? That's on us for giving up 59 points. And even though it has been a frustrating afternoon and season for the Rams and Steve Spagnuolo, at the same time, he's got to say, hey, you know what? Why don't we just knock that ball away? Why don't we make a play? We've got to do something to prevent them from scoring.
And I'm sure that's going to be what he tells his players when they get together on the meeting. He showed his frustration on the sideline, but his message will clearly be to the players, it's up to us to stop them.
Danny Amendola gets it up across the 40-yard line. There is a flag, however, on the field. Kevin Casevaharn with the tackle.
During the return, holding number 46 in the offense. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Null, coming off his first TD toss, hits Billy Badgema, the third tight end. Gets it up to the 25-yard line. Stephen Tulloch on the stop.
And I think it's important to note that Steve Spagnuolo is fired up and was a little disappointed and upset with Jeff Fisher going for that play on fourth down. But you got to remember, since they won that game in Detroit and they came off the bye week, yes, they have lost 4 in a row, but they've all been games they've been in, whether it's New Orleans, Arizona, Seattle, Chicago. They've been in those ball games into the fourth quarter, and he feels this one has definitely gotten away from his squad.
Stop me if you've heard this before, but there is another flag on the field, and now a couple of them.
Offside, defense number 95, lined up in the neutral zone.
And it looks like there might be a second flag on the Titans as well, maybe Cortland Finnegan. We'll see.
Two fouls on the play. Offside, number 95 of the defense, lined up in the neutral zone. That penalty is declined. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 31 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Well, Cortland Finnegan, we told you how pleasant he was in the meetings. He's a yes sir, no sir type guy, and he admits it's something snaps out here, and usually it's in his favor. That time it wasn't.
He admitted when he crosses over onto the field, he clicks into a different intensity mode. We talked about his admiration for Ray Lewis and his style of play. He tries to bring that linebacker mentality to the defensive back position.
Jackson, who's been bottled up much of the afternoon, is again. William Hayes, Keith Bullock, Stephen Tulloch, all there taking turns. You know, getting back to Cortland Finnegan, he's such an interesting kid. Who talked to him about who he pretended to be as a kid playing football in the backyard. He said a name out there you thought you would never hear him say.
Well, the first one we jumped all over. We're like, oh, Barry Sanders, that's your guy. But then the second one, we both, you know.
Ed McCaffrey, former Broncos receiver. We went, what? He said, yep, Ed McCaffrey. That's who he wanted to be. Well, instead, it's Vincent Fuller who wants to be a man scoring 6 this afternoon, and he does so. as I said, everybody's leaving with a football today, it seems like. Vincent Fuller with the interception return for a touchdown, his second of the year.
You can see Vincent Fuller was lined up over the slot. Once again, Keith Noll, playing experience, playing time, getting an opportunity to play. He comes back thinking he's going to hit his outside slant, hit the outside receiver. Vincent Fuller lined up in the slot, baits him into thinking it's open. He falls off, gets a pick six for Keith Noll's fourth interception of the day.
So make it a season-high 47 points for the Tennessee Titans after the pick six. Well, this one has turned into a laugher. Chuck Cecil, the first-year defensive coordinator for the Titans. There have been some growing pains on that side of the football, certainly through the first 6 weeks of the season, but they are right in tune. I mean, yes, they lost last week, snapping their 5-game winning streak, but they weren't that far from beating Peyton Manning and the Colts up in Indy. Here they make it 6-7, and I'm telling you, they're going to be right in this thing until the end.
Next week is a huge, huge game for the Tennessee Titans. Coming in here is Miami at 7-6 into Tennessee. They can make it a strong case for the playoff position by beating the head-to-head with Miami.
Well, another flag on the field. Jeff Triplett and his crew earning his money.
During the return, Emil Bach in the back. Number 47 of the return team. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Keith Noll, after tossing his fourth pick of the day, hits Danny Amendola for short gain. Keith Bullock, who has been all over the place and has 2 of the 4 interceptions, comes up with the stop.
And if there's any wonder how deep in the doghouse Richie Incognito is, Jacob Bell on that interception return pulled up with a hamstring injury and didn't come back in the game. They put John Greco, second-year player John Greco, in at left guard, and Richie Incognito continues to stay on the sideline.
Noll hits Amendola again, who gets dragged down by Bullock. Gets the ball up to the 20.
Tackle by Bullock.
Under 5 minutes to go here in Nashville. Trent Green alongside Chris Rose, watching Chris Johnson and the Titans just take care of business. Johnson with over 100 yards for the 8th straight game, also with 3 touchdowns. Noll flushed out of the pocket, looks for Avery, and the ball is just tipped away by Vincent Fuller.
We may have seen the last of Steven Jackson today as well. It appears that he has helmet in hand over on the sideline, and good call on the Rams' part. I know Steven's a competitor and wants to be in there and never wants to give up, but with this game, the situation the way it is, and he's been dealing with a bad back for the last 3 weeks, it's a smart decision to get him out of the game and try and rest him up.
Well, here's your up-to-the-minute rushing leaders in the NFL. Chris Johnson trying to become the 6th player to rush for more than 2,000 yards in a single season. Here, Noll hits Donnie Avery right at the sticks. Noll, the 3rd different quarterback to start a game for the St. Louis Rams this year. Mark Bulger, injured a few weeks ago, a broken bone in his shin. Uncertain if he will return to action this year. Kyle Bowler tried to loosen up his injured thigh, couldn't get it going today, so now it is Noll, the 6th-round pick out of Division II West Texas A&M, and it has been a trying game for the rookie. Kenneth Darby out of the backfield. Keeps his footing, but doesn't even get back to the line of scrimmage.
Rude introduction and a rough environment to come in and make your first start on the road in Tennessee with a vastly improved team over the first 6 weeks of the season, and a team that is fighting to get back in the playoff hunt, and Keith Noll walked into a tough situation today.
So now the Titans, this is the first of a 3-game homestand. They will welcome in Miami next Sunday, followed by San Diego on Christmas Day, and then finish up the season at Seattle. Darby spun down by Nick Harper. So once again, Jeff Fisher told us they got to win these last 4 games. They might have to get some help. The key team really in the race is Jacksonville. They have to be better than Jacksonville. If they're tied at 9-7 and Jacksonville's there as well, they're going to lose a tiebreaker based on divisional record against the Jags. But these other teams, the Jets who have won a couple of road games, the Ravens who laid it on the Lions today, the Dolphins who won on the road in Jacksonville, they're all going to be heard from these last 3 weeks. Null flips it out to Darby, who is in deep trouble and dragged down by Tony Brown, although Stephen Tulloch was the guy staring him down.
And that's why next week's game against Miami is going to have a playoff atmosphere here in Nashville. You talk about the following week, if they get by Miami, they end up at 7-7. San Diego comes in. If they win today, they're one of the hottest teams in the league. So, but if you want to make the play, you're not looking to just make the playoffs. You're looking to get in the playoffs and have success. So, in order to get in the playoffs, you're going to have to beat those teams that are in the same situation that you are, and that's what Tennessee is going to be faced with these next couple weeks.
Donnie Jones, who's hoping for a Pro Bowl season, boots it away. Alvin Pierman calls for the fair catch, and he loses it. Ball is still loose on the ground, picked up by Larry Grant, and it is Rams football. So one of the few mistakes made by the Tennessee Titans, and they have turned it over for the first time today.
As Pierman's about to catch the ball, you see Quincy Butler come flashing in front of him, and I think his own defender is the one that distracts him. He loses sight of the ball. The Rams are able to recover.
It was actually Jason McCourty who might have gotten in the vision of Pierman. If there has been one tremendous weakness on this Tennessee Titans team all year, it has been their return game. On both sides, it just has not been good. Very un-Jeff Fisher-like. So now just over 2 minutes to go, and Null back on the field. Hits Brandon Gibson, who gets dropped by Michael Griffin. And that'll take us to the 2-minute warning. Kyle Bowler, the late scratch, was supposed to be the starter. Couldn't get his leg loosened up, so Keith Null, the rookie, West Texas A&M, for 92 touchdowns in 26 starts down there, Division II. Does have his first career touchdown, but also has 4 interceptions this afternoon. Nice catch by Daniel Fells, who gets it down to about the 12. Today's game produced by Jeff Gowen, directed by Derek Manning. Our associate director is Eric Billigmeyer. Broadcast associate is Andy Kavanaugh. Technical producer Rod Conti. And the technical director is Brad Schaefer. I want to thank our guys up in the booth as well. Bergman doing our spotting. Mike Notero, our stats. Our entire Fox crew does an outstanding job. We want to thank them. Null looking for Gibson, has it slapped away by Nick Harper. So what did we learn about the Tennessee Titans this afternoon, Trent Green?
Well, they got done exactly what they wanted to get done. Chris Johnson over 100 yards. Vince Young came out and played very well, spread the ball around, made smart decisions, hitting checkdowns, hitting short receivers, ran the ball well, unfortunately left with the hamstring, but we knew about Kerry Collins. Veteran guy stepped in, did very well. The defense has stepped up and done very well. They did a good job of containing Steven Jackson and putting pressure all over rookie Keith Null.
Well, another flag and a motion penalty on the Rams.
False start, number 11 of the offense. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
And if you had the over on the number of penalties on the Rams today, congratulations. They have just hit 10. That ties their season high. So says Statman Mike Notero. Mike, good job. Take the rest of the afternoon off. Just over a minute to go here in Nashville. Amendola bottled up by Stephen Tulloch, who has played an outstanding game this afternoon. Tulloch, one of those quiet guys on this Tennessee defense. Maybe even a little shy when it comes to the media, but boy, he has steadily improved over the last few seasons.
You can see the guy in red right there. Chuck Cecil is his first year as defensive coordinator of the Titans. He admitted to having some growing pains getting used to being a defensive coordinator. He leans heavily on Dave McGinnis. Has helped him tremendously. He said he's feeling more and more comfortable. He's got to be very impressed with the way his guys performed today.
Well, Cecil, of course, the hard-hitting safety of the Cardinals back in the late 80s, early 90s. He's a guy that got away from football for several years because he said he couldn't come back and coach guys he felt like he was better than.
He left the game as one of the hardest hitting and was one of those borderline, you know, you talked about dirty players or crossing the line, and he admits it. He said there was a style and a way he liked to play, and he couldn't change that style because that's the way he grew up playing and that's how he knew to play. So to continue and try and do something different than what he was brought up trying to do just didn't make a lot of sense for him.
And make it a 5-pack in terms of interceptions. Cortland Finnegan is racing out. He wants to go the distance out of the end zone. And Finnegan is dragged down by Brandon Gibson at the 31. Five interceptions for the rookie.
He's just trying to take a shot in the end zone. Cortland Finnegan with good coverage. Comes up, makes a nice catch. Jeff Fisher's probably going to have a talk with Cortland, I would imagine. Understand his competitiveness. The game's out of hand. You're 9 yards deep in your end zone. You want to try and get some excitement and get it out of the end zone. But how sick would he have felt if he had gotten injured on that return? And how sick would the Titans have felt if they had lost one of their key defensive players when there was really no need for it?
Finnegan with his second interception of the day. Kerry Collins, who came in for the injured Vince Young, is going to take a knee on this last snap of the game. And that is going to do it.